Have you ever paused to consider what it genuinely takes to radiate such inner power and value that someone who previously neglected you comes to see you in a whole different light? Whether you want to bring someone new into your life or reconnect with someone who has become distant, the answer isn't to chase or prove yourself. These techniques simply work to undermine your position and destroy your essence. The truth is that we've been told a lie, that our worth is dependent on gaining the approval of others. But here's the paradox. The harder you chase, the further they drift. Instead, I ask you to examine a new route, one founded on ancient wisdom. It's about returning to yourself, your ideals, strength, and presence, rather than playing games or employing superficial methods. This is about expressing a sense of groundedness and completeness that leaves an indelible mark on the space you leave. When you concentrate on nurturing your inner world, those who have strayed will sense the gap of your absence and realize what they have let slip away. This is not manipulation, it is alignment. And once you learn this, you won't have to chase anyone. They'll come to you. Allow me to assist you through this transformational journey, step by step. Here's a simple but profound truth. Attraction isn't found in your words or deeds. It's in how you carry yourself when no one is looking. Too frequently, we give up our strength when someone pushes away, by chasing, over-explaining, or trying too hard to show our worth. But every time you act in desperation, you send a clear message. Your self-worth is dependent on them. Nothing makes someone lose respect for you faster than that. But consider this. What if you stopped attempting to fill the silence with sound? What if you choose stillness, self-control, and inner serenity instead? This is when Stoicism's knowledge may help you the most. Stoicism argues that true strength derives from dominating oneself rather than manipulating others. When you stop attempting to get someone's attention and instead focus on becoming someone worth remembering, the dynamic shifts dramatically. Consider this. Instead of flooding them with texts or being overly available, you take a step back, not in anger or games, but in quiet confidence. You recognize your own worth and quit devoting energy to someone who does not reciprocate it. That's when the shift starts. They'll notice your absence and wonder why they haven't sought you out. Did I misjudge them? Have I made a mistake? The uncertainty begins to work on them. You've stopped feeding their ego, and they're now left to confront their own emotions. This is not a game. It is about recovering your sense of self. It's about taking control of your own life and no longer relying on the attention of others to validate you. When you conquer your emotions, when you stop responding rashly and instead focus on your growth, you become magnetic. The person who used to ignore you starts to see you through a different lens, not because you chased them, but because you've become the type of person they can't ignore. You become unpredictable, unwavering, and unquestionably appealing. Let us break it down together. We'll look at Stoicism's ageless principles, including how to appreciate stillness, cultivate confidence, and embody a presence that speaks louder than words. If you're ready to quit seeking and begin living in accordance with your genuine worth, stick with me. The first step is simple yet profound. Stop chasing. Turn within. Let your absence speak loudly and find the power of self-mastery. That is the new you. If you're ready to regain your power and improve your relationships, leave a remark below with the phrase, "I am done chasing," to signal the start of this transition. It's time to stop seeking and begin attracting, effortlessly, confidently, and purposefully. Why they lose interest, the deeper truth. Understanding why someone withdraws or loses interest frequently exposes patterns that reflect human nature rather than personal failure. One important issue is predictability. When you are constantly available, accommodating, and saying yes, the sense of surprise and thrill fades. According to the scarcity principle, we place less value on something when it appears to be abundant, according to psychological research. When you're overly present or giving, you unintentionally reduce your worth in their eyes. Another culprit is emotional overdependence. When you rely on someone for frequent validation, it puts pressure on the relationship, indicating insecurity. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, reminds us that he who is unperturbed by the loss of externals has discovered the tranquility of inner peace. This means that when you separate your feeling of self-worth from external acceptance, you exude a serene assurance that is extremely appealing. Routine is another relationship killer. The same talks, habits, and lack of variety can make things seem stale. Dr. Helen Fisher, a psychologist, says that novelty promotes dopamine, the brain's neurotransmitter that causes excitement and desire. Without that element of unpredictability, curiosity naturally fades. Finally, people tend to lose interest when you stop growing. Humans are drawn to individuals who grow emotionally, intellectually, and physically. When you focus solely on maintaining the relationship and ignore your personal development, the dynamic becomes stagnant. In contrast, growth is magnetic. It conveys vitality, ambition, and an irresistible energy. The counter-drug. To pique their interest or to attract anyone into your life, you must embody the polar opposite of these mistakes. Be unpredictable while preserving an air of mystery and individuality. Develop self-sufficiency and a sense of self-worth. Incorporate novelty and excitement into your life, and most importantly, continue to grow. These ideas are consistent with Stoic beliefs and psychological facts, providing a roadmap for cultivating long-term attraction. If you're ready, let's go over the 8 stages to change the dynamic and rekindle engagement. These steps incorporate old wisdom, current psychology, and practical relationship tactics. Each stage of this journey is intended to help you reclaim your power, refocus on your inner self, and eventually become the type of person whose presence cannot be ignored. The first and most transformative stage is emotional separation. But what does emotional detachment really mean? It's not about ignoring your emotions or becoming apathetic. Instead, it's about developing control over your emotional responses. It is the ability to remain stable and unaffected by the actions of others. Emotional detachment is the key to breaking free from the loop of reacting impulsively to others' actions. And it's especially important when you're in a situation where someone is losing interest or drawing away. When you become emotionally linked to another person's actions or sentiments, you rely on their approval to maintain your self-esteem. Every letter they send or do not send, every word they utter, and every hint of remoteness serves as a trigger. You overthink, you react, and in the process, you reduce your own worth by giving them control of your emotional state. Many people give up their authority by allowing another person's actions to dictate their peace of mind. Consider this. What if, instead of reacting with fear or insecurity, you chose calmness and clarity? What if you determined that you control your emotions, not the other way around? This is the essence of emotional detachment. Here's how it works. When they begin to pull away, don't panic. You do not chase. You don't ask inquiries like, "Why are you so distant?" or "What did I do wrong?" Instead, take a step back. You pause. You remind yourself that your emotional state is completely under your control. This purposeful pause keeps you from feeling needy or insecure. It enables you to maintain your composure and show confidence even when confronted with uncertainty. This practice has significant roots in Stoic philosophy. Epictetus wisely remarked, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Emotional detachment is an example of this principle. While you cannot control if someone withdraws or loses interest, you can control how you react. By choosing not to react emotionally, you retain your power and inner serenity. Let us investigate this practice further. Together, we'll discover how to fully embrace this mindset, combining old Stoic knowledge with practical techniques to help you alter your relationships and yourself. I'll give you an example. For example, imagine you're in a new relationship and everything was going swimmingly at first. Then they suddenly started responding much less often, and you could feel the spark fading. The first impulse would be to send additional text, asking how they are, or trying to reawaken their interest. But doing so comes out as desperate and needy. Instead, you may control yourself by keeping your emotions in check. Your attitude and sense of self-worth remain unaffected by the event, even though you are cognizant of it. You remain motionless as you allow them to retreat. As if nothing has transpired, you carry on with your daily routine. This absence of sound, this silence, is sending a powerful message. Feeling valued does not depend on their interest. You may keep things in perspective by practicing emotional detachment. When you're too invested in someone's behavior, you can wind up misinterpreting their actions. No matter if they're withdrawing due to stress or just testing the waters, keeping your emotions in check can prevent you from making hasty decisions that could further alienate them. To be clear, emotional detachment does not imply apathy. You remain concerned, but you refuse to allow their behavior to dictate your emotional reality. Caring, but not excessively so, is the key. You can keep your self-assurance no matter what they do if you learn to disconnect emotionally. To sum up, practicing emotional detachment means focusing on the inside and releasing the desire to manage the outside. Regardless of external circumstances, you can retain a sense of serenity and stability by focusing on your own emotional well-being and boundaries. Finally, emotional detachment enables you to negotiate relationships while maintaining a healthy mix of concern for others and self-preservation. It's about demonstrating that their distance or disinterest doesn't bother you, and that kind of unwavering confidence is quite appealing. When you stop being emotionally reactive, they'll notice the difference. They'll question why you're not chasing or reacting, and the power dynamic shifts. Instead of following them, they'll start to feel your absence and finally crawl back, recognizing what they've missed. Stay with me, folks. We're only getting started. Next, we'll go over common pitfalls to avoid when someone pushes away or loses interest. It's easy to fall into the trap of desperation, panic, and overreaction. These blunders, while frequent, only make matters worse, trapping you in a loop of anger and disappointment. But here's the good news. By understanding and consciously avoiding these habits, you can reclaim control and establish a magnetic presence that attracts them back to you. One of the most typical mistakes people make when they notice someone losing interest is pursuing them. Even tougher, you begin messaging, calling, or making excuses to visit them. The issue with this attitude is that it comes across as needy and desperate. The more you chase, the less appealing you become, since you are implying that you require their attention to feel validated. The goal is to quit chasing and instead detach from the outcome. When you stop attempting to push their interest, the dynamic shifts instantaneously. Instead of being the person who is constantly available, you become more enigmatic, unpredictable, and difficult to read, which piques their interest and draws them back in. Remember, people are naturally drawn to those who are confident and have a sense of independence. Focusing on your own life and interests not only makes you more appealing, but it also helps to maintain a healthy relationship balance. Finally, allowing space and retaining your own individuality will make you more appealing in the long run. Remember that people value what they have worked for, not what is always in front of them. Mistake 2 is over-communicating and over-explaining. Another common problem is over-communicating. When you sense them slipping away, you may believe that explaining yourself or expressing your emotions will bring them back. You start sending extended texts in an attempt to persuade them of your point of view or demonstrate how much you care. But this frequently backfires. Why? Because over-explaining and emotional oversharing can overwhelm the other person and make you appear vulnerable. Instead of trying to explain everything in words, embrace silence and space. Allow them to wonder what's going through your head. Allow them to feel the weight of your absence rather than continuously hearing about your attempts to resolve the situation. Stoicism believes that true strength is found in emotional moderation and connections. Sometimes saying less is considerably more effective than over-communicating mistakes. 3. You are sacrificing your own life and interests. It's easy to lose yourself when you're trying to get someone's attention. You begin to restructure your life to meet their schedule, cancel plans with pals, or ignore your own hobbies and interests. As a result, you become too available, and your life begins to revolve around them. This decreases your appeal because they no longer have to work to be a part of your world. You have already made yourself too easy to find. The solution is to focus on your own development. Continue to invest in your passions, work, and social life as long as you are engaged in the activities that make you happy and pleased. You automatically become more appealing. People are drawn to those who thrive on their own, rather than those who rely on others for happiness. Maintaining your life outside of them will make you someone they want to be around, rather than someone they take for granted. 4. Need frequent reassurance. When you perceive someone drifting away, you may begin to seek reassurance. You inquire about how they feel, whether they are still interested, and why. They appear distant, but this continual need for affirmation sends a clear message. You are insecure, which is a significant turn-off in any relationship. People like to be with someone who is confident and self-assured, rather than someone who continually needs to be reminded that everything is fine. Instead of seeking reassurance, develop self-assurance. Trust that if they are supposed to be in your life, they will be. Do not seek external validation. Find your confidence in mistake 5. When someone's behavior starts to confuse you, it's natural to become emotionally reactive. Maybe they didn't text back, or maybe they cancelled arrangements at the last minute. Your feelings spike and you immediately react, either by delivering an impulsive message of frustration or by shutting down totally. These emotional reactions simply serve to distance the other person by creating drama and tension. Instead, exercise emotional control. Take a step back, breathe, and allow your initial emotional impulses to subside before replying. Since the Stoics felt that regulating your emotions was the ultimate power, and would make you stand out in any relationship, exhibiting emotional maturity by not allowing their behaviors to rattle you is incredibly appealing. Mistake 6. Attempting to persuade somebody of your worth. Another typical mistake is believing that you must persuade someone of your worth. You may begin by detailing all of the reasons why they should remain, explaining why you're the perfect fit, or even attempting to show them what they're missing. But the fact is that no one can be persuaded to understand your worth. Your value cannot be explained. It can only be demonstrated through your actions, confidence, and demeanor. Stop attempting to prove yourself to someone who doesn't recognize your value. When you focus on being the finest version of yourself, they will naturally see what they have been missing. Mistake 7. Letting their actions decide your pleasure. When someone pulls away, it's simple to allow their actions to influence your mood. When they don't, you grow apprehensive. Your emotional state completely depends on how they treat you when they eventually reply or are happy. This gives them complete influence over your happiness, which is a hazardous situation to be in. The objective is to recover emotional freedom. Your happiness should never be dependent on anybody else's attention or devotion. Instead, focus on creating your own pleasure. Create a life that stimulates and fulfills you, so you are not continually seeking happiness from other sources. Mistake 8. Fearing the loss. The dread of losing someone might motivate you to act in ways that eventually drive them away. When you're continuously concerned about them departing, you tend to cling to chase and overcompensate. Ironically, this dread frequently becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The remedy is to let go of the fear of losing. Understand that if someone decides to leave, it does not reflect your merit. Rather, it reflects their choice. By releasing that fear, you relieve yourself of the worry that comes from attempting to control outcomes that are beyond your control. Avoiding these typical blunders will help you to reclaim your authority in the relationship. Rather than pursuing, over-explaining, or responding impulsively, you learn to behave with confidence and control. Concentrate on yourself, master your emotions, and allow them to come to you on their own time. When you stop making these mistakes, you create an environment in which kids will naturally gravitate towards your energy, power, and emotional independence. Make no touch, and they'll miss you. The no-contact rule is one of the most efficient ways to reclaim power in a relationship, especially when someone has lost interest or backed away. This isn't about playing games or manipulating emotions. It's about giving yourself permission to restore your confidence and worth. When done effectively, no contact might cause the person who has drifted away to miss you, rethink their actions, and reflect on what they've lost. So, what is the no-contact rule? It's simple. After a breakup, or when someone gets distant, stop communicating with them. That means no texting, phoning, or using social media. To avoid stalking and inadvertent run-ins, you fully remove yourself from their life for a specified length of time, generally 30 days, but this might vary depending on the scenario. This moment of quiet has two purposes. It allows you to focus on your own development, and it provides them time to notice your absence. Why does no contact work so well? First, let us examine human psychology. When you're continuously there or reaching out, kids don't get to experience what life is like without you. You're constantly accessible, and as a result, people may begin to take your presence for granted. By withdrawing and remaining silent, you create a void. They begin to wonder why they haven't heard from you, and their curiosity may rapidly morph into missing you. This quiet encourages them to think about what they had with you, and more significantly, what they have lost. They may love the independence at first, believing they have moved on or don't need you. But the stillness grows louder with time. They start to miss the things you used to bring into their lives, your attention, your energy, and the connection you had. Suddenly they understand something is missing, and that's when they start to notice your absence. No interaction is important since it benefits you as well. It's not only about making them miss you. You should use this time to focus on yourself. The idea is to rediscover your own life, passions, and feeling of self-worth. When you go no contact, you give yourself the opportunity to heal, develop, and understand that your worth is not dependent on their attention. You're rebuilding yourself, and the shift will be magnetic to them and others. During this period, it is critical to resist the need to check in on them. Reach out and respond to any messages they may send. Stoicism tells us that genuine power comes from managing our responses, and no touch provides an excellent opportunity to practice this. By being silent, you demonstrate emotional control, which is quite attractive. You're conveying that you don't need their affirmation and that you're quite capable of going. Moving forth on your own, this absence, this stillness, helps them know that they lack the emotional hold over you. It changes the dynamics. Instead of you waiting for their response, they are now wondering where you have gone. They are the ones who begin to miss you, and they will ultimately return, frequently more intrigued than before. No touch is not a passive gesture. It is a forceful, deliberate tactic. It provides you an advantage by enabling them to feel the effects of your absence while you work on becoming a stronger, more confident version of yourself. When they return, they will discover someone who is not only emotionally matured, but is also more appealing and grounded than ever before. And this is when you have the upper hand. So, if you want someone to miss you, avoid making contact. It's not about punishing them. It's about allowing them room to recognize your worth. And in that stillness, they'll begin to understand what life is like without you. And more often than not, they'll want you back. Staying focused during the no-contact phase can be difficult, especially when the need to reach out is overpowering. Yet, this time is critical for restoring emotional independence and a feeling of self-worth. To keep on track, change your emphasis from them to yourself. Investing in your own development is one of the most effective strategies to stay focused. Use this phase to focus on yourself, whether it's via health, gaining new skills, increasing your profession, or diving into personal projects that spark your interest. Engaging in activities that enrich your life not only distracts you from the urge to reconnect, but also helps you grow as a person. This development will increase your strength, confidence, and attractiveness. When the no-contact time is over, it's also crucial to rely on your support system. It might be isolating, but surrounding oneself with encouraging friends and family can make all the difference. Spend time with others who encourage you, remind you of your value, and take your attention off the person. You are avoiding conversations and encounters with other people because they will serve as a reminder that there is more to the universe than just you. Finally, develop patience and emotional control. Stoicism instructs us to concentrate on what we can control, our own behaviors and emotions. By remaining conscious and present, you will be able to resist the temptation to break off touch and instead develop the inner power required to maintain it. Make the most of your time away. As much for yourself as for heartbreak may be one of the most terrible feelings in life, leaving you. What if I told you that this heartbreak may be your greatest strength? The agony you are experiencing now is not the end. It is an opportunity to rebuild yourself stronger than ever before. In fact, the exact thing that is ripping you apart right now might be the catalyst for your development and change. Transform sadness into your greatest strength. Heartbreak can feel like one of the most painful experiences in life, leaving you raw, vulnerable, and questioning your worth. But what if I told you that this heartbreak can be turned into your greatest strength? The agony you are experiencing now is not the end. It is an opportunity to rebuild yourself stronger than ever before. In fact, the exact thing that is ripping you apart right now might be the catalyst for your development and change. The first step in transforming sadness into strength is to embrace the suffering rather than avoid it. People frequently try to divert themselves from their pain, yet genuine healing comes from confronting their feelings. Recognize what you're feeling: sadness, rage, frustration, and allow yourself to dwell with those feelings like the Stoics. Taught emotions are not something to avoid, but rather something to watch and learn from. This method allows you to begin to comprehend what went wrong, what needs to be changed, and how to learn from the experience. After accepting the suffering, the next stage is to use it as fuel. Heartbreak frequently leaves a gap, but it also provides an opportunity to rebuild yourself. Put your energy into something productive, whether it's your profession, health, or personal interests. Take the time to reconnect with your objectives so you can invest in yourself and rediscover who you are outside of the relationship. When you focus on your own development, the suffering becomes a fuel for change. The trick is to remember that tragedy refines, not defines, you. Each setback, each moment of grief presents a chance to grow in resilience. As Marcus Aurelius once observed, the hindrance to action encourages action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The pain of grief will propel you ahead if you choose to see it as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Finally, turning sadness into strength requires recovering your control. You no longer let the loss of someone else define your self-worth. Instead, you take ownership of your story, creating a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more confident than ever before. Heartbreak is horrible, but it is only temporary. Strength, on the other hand, is something you can carry throughout your life. How to make them truly miss you. To truly make them miss you, you must alter the dynamics of your relationship by focusing less on them and more on yourself. It is not about playing mind games or manipulating them. It is about demonstrating that your presence is unique and cannot be simply replaced. The first and most important step is to create space. When you're always available, making contact or showing up for them, they never get to experience what life is like without you. Allow them to sense your absence by pulling back, whether that means lowering communication, giving them time alone, or cutting off all contact for a period of time. In this stillness, they'll begin to wonder where you've gone and why you're not giving them the attention they're used to. This arouses interest, which inevitably leads to missing you. Next, prioritize self-improvement. People are drawn to people who are thriving and developing. Use your time away to improve yourself, whether via fitness, job ambitions, hobbies, or emotional growth. You become more appealing when you create a satisfying and fascinating life on your own. You generate magnetic energy, which they will be drawn to. They'll notice that you're okay without them, which typically leads to sentiments of regret or desire. Independence is another important feature. Demonstrate that you are not dependent on them for your pleasure or contentment. When people realize that you aren't chasing them or frantically seeking approval, they reconsider your value. They'll start to ask why. You don't respond to their remoteness or apathy, which causes them to reflect on what they've lost. Finally, retain a sense of mystery. Do not overshare or tell them everything that is going on in your life. The less people know, the more they'll speculate. This generates an aura of uncertainty and keeps them interested, prompting them to reconnect with you. To genuinely make someone miss you, take a step back, focus on your personal development, and let your absence speak more than your presence ever could. This not only boosts your own self-esteem, but it also attracts them back to you in a forceful and natural manner. What to do when they eventually contact you after a time of quiet or distance? Be cool and confident in the circumstance. This moment is critical in determining the tone for what follows, so approach it with caution. First, don't hurry to answer. Instead, take a minute to gather your thoughts and consider your next steps. Responding too fast may indicate that you have been waiting for them, shifting the power dynamic back in their favor. Allow yourself time to choose how you want to interact with them. Maintain a cool and controlled demeanor and avoid displaying excessive eagerness while responding. Maintain a relaxed and welcoming tone. Don't become too emotional or bring up old concerns right away. Instead, keep things light and allow the discussion to run organically. By doing so, you demonstrate that you have been fine on your own and are not needy for their attention. This promotes the notion that you are self-sufficient, which is quite appealing. It's also vital to establish limits. If their previous conduct has wounded you, don't be hesitant to convey your expectations for the future, but do so gently and assertively. Let them know that you're willing to reconnect on your terms, with respect and understanding. Finally, remain grounded. Do not let their approach alter your sense of self-worth or independence. Whether or not they completely re-engage, you've demonstrated that you can flourish on your own. The power is in how you manage their return. Be cool and confident. Remember that you have power over how things progress from here, establishing limits and recovering your power. Setting boundaries is critical to recovering your power in any relationship. Protect your mental well-being and boost your self-esteem by stating what you will and will not tolerate. Without boundaries, you become subject to being taken advantage of, and your worth in the eyes of others decreases. Yet, by establishing clear boundaries, you demonstrate that you are in control of your life and will not accept anything less than what you deserve to begin. Recognize that limits aren't about controlling the other person. They're about safeguarding your own space, energy, and self-esteem. For example, if someone has a history of being inconsistent or unreliable, explain your expectations for the future. I require consistency and honesty. If that isn't attainable, I won't commit my time. This tells them that if they want to be in your life, they must step up. Setting limits needs emotional courage, and others may push back, may challenge those boundaries, but being strong is critical. Stoicism tells us that self-control is essential for sustaining inner peace. By not allowing people to push your limits, you retain that tranquility and demonstrate to them that their actions will not unsettle you. Finally, do not apologize for having limits. Boundaries reflect your ideals and self-respect. You do not have to explain or justify them to anyone. When you set limits and stick to them, you naturally attract individuals who respect you and repel those who don't. The procedure allows you to recover your power since you no longer give up control of your emotions or allow others to decide your value. Setting boundaries does not mean locking people out. Rather, it means allowing the proper people in on your terms. Finally, mastering yourself means adopting emotional detachment, avoiding frequent blunders, and employing no contact to make her miss you. Stop pursuing, focus on your own growth, and create hard limits to recapture your authority. She will begin to sense the emptiness you left behind. Remember that it's not about manipulating or dominating others. It's about demonstrating your worth via your actions, confidence, and self-esteem. If you're ready to make this change and take charge of your relationships, click the like button and leave a comment with the text, "I'm in power now," underneath.